Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is John. Today I wanted to go back over the 50 million cash raise that Nano Dimension had yesterday. I think these are going to be some details that you guys don't want to miss out on. So here's their SEC filing for the $50 million raise. Let's look at the offering itself. As of today, before the offering, we have 54.5 million shares outstanding. And after this direct offering closes, we're going to have around 71.2 million shares outstanding. Each American depository share represents one ordinary share. An American depository share is just a way for companies who are not in the US to raise money through common stock offerings. The American depository share represents one ordinary share. Their use of proceeds, they're expecting 47 million out of it. We currently expect to use the net proceeds from this offering for working capital and general corporate purposes. So investing in American depository shares involves a high degree of risk. See risk factors beginning on page S6 of this prospectus supplement in the documents incorporated by blah, blah, blah. So before I even get into that, I wanted to make another point of the shares outstanding. So stated in the SEC filing, 54.5 million shares are outstanding as of October 26, but this does not include the following: 11.6 million shares issuable upon the exercise of warrants, and these warrants range from 75 cents up to $12.81 per American depository share. 10,500 are held by the company as treasury shares. 7.3 million ordinary shares are issuable upon the exercise of options currently held by directors, consultants, and employees under the 2015 stock option plan. 4.6 million shares are reserved for future issuance under our 2015 stock option plan, and 836,000 ordinary shares are issuable upon the exercise of placement agent warrants, or in this case, ThinkEquity, which are warrants issued in connection with this offering at an exercise price of $3.75 per American depository share. And I'll go ahead and add that these warrants issued by Nano Dimension don't expire for 4 years. So whoever does exercise these warrants at ThinkEquity will have the right to purchase Nano Dimension at $3.75 4 years from now, because that's when the warrants expire. But I'll get into that a little bit later. It's in the document, so we'll see that in a second. If I were to add up all the shares here, the 71 million shares, plus the other shares that I mentioned that are not outstanding as of October 26, 2020, after I add everything up, it's about 95.5 million shares. And I don't think we will see the full dilution of Nano Dimension for at least the next 3 to 4 years. So just expect, as they are growing, we are going to see more and more dilution as time goes on. So let's look at the risk factors and see exactly how they expect to use their money. Since we have broad discretion in how we use the net proceeds from this offering, we may use the proceeds in ways in which you might disagree. We intend to use the net proceeds of this offering for working capital and general corporate purposes. This is just to cover operational costs with having Nano Dimension up and running as a business. This is not cost of goods sold. This is just to cover paying employees, paying rent, utilities, things that would be there regardless of an illness or anything. And as for the working capital, all working capital is the difference between a company's current assets, which in this case for Nano Dimension is mainly cash. It's the difference between that and current liabilities, so not long-term liabilities. Anything outside of a year is considered long-term debt, in which it would end up in the long-term debt on the balance sheet. Accordingly, our management will have significant flexibility in applying the net proceeds of this offering. You will be relying on the judgment of our management with regard to the use of these net proceeds. With this money during these kind of weird times, so we have to rely on the judgment of, Yoav Stern, Amit Dror, the rest of the board with what they're going to do with this money. We have to believe they have good judgment and that they can carry out making good decisions as they have in the past with their R&D over the last 5 years. That's essentially the risk we're taking with this cash raise, so I would not be surprised there. We do not anticipate paying any dividends. No surprise there. You kind of need money and profits to distribute to your shareholders in order to pay dividends, and they're not seeing any of that right now, so no surprise there. I'm going to skip this one, but if you want to read about the illness one, it's on page S8 of the filing. Here are the cautionary statements regarding forward-looking statements that basically sums up all of the factors that would change the outcome of Nano Dimension over the next few years materially. The overall global economic environment, the impact of competition and new technologies, which we have not seen yet, general market, political, and economic conditions in countries which we operate, projected capital expenditures and liquidity, changes in our strategy, the impact of the thing, and pretty much that sums up most of the things. They have other risk factors that they've mentioned in the prospectus supplement. If you want to read that, I will leave the link in the description below. So here's a more detailed plan of distribution for their shares. ThinkEquity is a placement agent. They're a broker-dealer that assists the company offerings by connecting it with qualified investors who may be interested in purchasing the issuer securities. The main benefit here is they already have pre-existing relationships with investors and a lot of money out there. They'll probably have this cash raise over by the end of the week. I didn't realize that ThinkEquity would get rights to warrants from Nano Dimension. And what a warrant is a stock option, but instead of it being issued by the exchange, it's actually issued by the company itself. Not only that, but the expirations are generally a lot further out, generally expire in 1 to 2 years, but in this case, it's expiring in 4 years. And the difference is warrants actually dilute shares because the company is obligated to issue the new stock when the warrants are exercised. Now, they have not exercised these yet, but anytime within the next 4 years, they could definitely do so. Probably should have zoomed in before I even made this video, but I'm going to continue. We also agreed to issue to the placement agent, or ThinkEquity, warrants to purchase 836,100 American Depository shares, or 5% of the shares in the offering. And at the end of the cash raise, they do get a placement agent fee from the entire 50 million cash raise, and this totals to about $2.7 million. So at the end of the cash raise, Nano Dimension is still going to get about $47.5 million. So if Nano Dimension does well, I definitely see them exercising these in the future. But anyways, I just wanted to bring those small details to your attention because I don't feel like enough people actually read these SEC filings. And the really important details that you would generally not see is public information in the SEC filings. You just have to go in and read it. Or you could just have people like me who read it for you and summarize it. But I still do think you should go in there and check it out, read it, analyze the details, and really understand what it is they're trying to do. This is how you can have ultimate confidence in your investments when you're buying the underlying companies. But I want to bring the details that matter to your attention so you don't get caught by surprise. For example, in this case, more share dilution. But in my opinion, I think this is a normal thing. They're a growing company. We are living through some very unprecedented times now, and it doesn't surprise me that they want to get some money to wither the effects of all this crap. But that pretty much sums up my video. If you guys like what you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button and even consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit the bell notification if you want to be notified when I make videos just like this one. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.